that Fiona asked me to talk about was All Abilities Playground. It was a $1.7 million playground in Bairnsdale, which is our main community, and it was a finalist in the LGPro Community Infrastructure Awards this year, which is, I think, how Fiona came across it. And we reflect a little bit on this one, and then talk about some of the learnings from it and how we've applied that to a couple of other playgrounds. Challenge of this project was, how do you work with an empowered group when you haven't been right at the beginning? How do you work with it? How do you keep that motivation and acknowledge all the commitment and the power and all the great things that have come with it, and then put that layer of frustration, practicality into the project? One of the things that we also kind of looked back at this one and said, well, where were the views of the wider community? We worked very closely with quite a small group who had worked at a political level and at a business level. So passion versus skill, as we said, we had a very passionate group of parents and educators who knew about the client base and knew about their needs, but perhaps didn't understand all those boring things about meeting community, Australian standards and all those sort of things, and reflect some of the broader community views on what a place they should be. I guess for us it was that true empowerment can't be circumstantial, it has to be built from the beginning. If we're going to work towards an engagement model which is around empowerment, it has to start at the beginning. It can't be that somewhere through it. And it can't be circumstantial because, oh, here we've got some money, we can have it. It's got to be built right from the beginning. And sometimes empowerment isn't always the best model, because it can bring with it those points of conflict if you haven't thought it through about how do we actually get through some of the statutory mechanisms when we said, what's your project, up you go and do it, and then we don't want to be sent to be pulling back and go, well, actually you can't do that. Are we better to say, well, we're going to engage in a meaningful way and consult in a meaningful way, rather than trying to even stretch us to collaboration at this point? So what we've really focused on is trying to get the consultation right. So we set up a community reference group and look, had the first couple of meetings and the numbers were great. So rather than just pushing forward, we said, no, let's stop. Let's look at why this isn't working. Let's pull in a community development officer who lives in that community, who knows that community, and works with them in a different way. And let's get her involved, and let's restructure the reference group and start again. So that's what we did, and we've got a much better buy-in. We also worked really strongly with traditional owners and recognise that we need to engage differently. Don't just call a meeting and expect that they'll turn up, because there's a whole range of reasons why that won't happen. Again, let's work about how we need to engage, and be prepared to put some extra steps in our process to make sure that that's a meaningful engagement. And when our traditional owners say, we really want you to do this, even though it might not be a statutory obligation to do it, let's commit to doing that, because that's about building that long-term partnership. So that's that one, and it's kind of a work in progress. Hopefully we'll, in a couple of years be able to say, yeah, that process worked really well for us in that community. And it's not just about your project that you're working on, it's about how does that reflect on council generally? Is that taking us in the right direction on how we engage with that community on an ongoing basis? Is that going to create a positive experience in our community? Go, well, they listened to us that time. Maybe it is worth working with them on this project as well. Especially when we're working with the community, as we said, not in a good space right now in terms of feeling loved, not just by us, but by the state government and the world generally. When we're thinking about projects that are like this, and in particular community infrastructure projects, it's, where can your project genuinely and realistically sit on the engagement spectrum? Because wherever you've placed it, it has to be genuinely performing there. It's not where would you like it to be, but there's all those things about, well, as an organisation, what are your responsibilities? What's your appetite? If your community says we want pink and purple spots, then it's going to look like this. Have we got the appetite to build that? Because that's what the community said. Because it has to be about our appetite to actually accept what's coming back from the community. What's our community's expectation? Is their expectation that they will completely design and completely own it, like the All Abilities one, or is it just that we're going to actually consult in a meaningful way with them? So let's build out our engagement practices around that. And then what's the skill level we expect in the community and in the project. So really, if we're going to go towards the collaboration and empower, let's make sure that we've assisted the community to build those skills and identify those skills. Because often, as we know, the skills are sitting somewhere in the community already. They just might not be known, and it might not be, you know, the usual suspects that come to the community meetings that actually hold those skills. But someone will know, someone in there that's a landscape architect or used to. I met at a community function the other day. I met someone that used to advise Tony Blair, who's just sitting in a little community in East Gippsland. It's like level of engagement. It's about being really genuine at this level. It's okay to sometimes just say, all we can do here is perform, but let's make sure that we're informing it in a meaningful way and we're consistent. If we start telling people about a project, let's keep going all the way through so they know where it is all the way through. If we're going to collaborate, we can't stop halfway through because we're running out of time or money. You know, it's about that. Wherever we sit on the spectrum is okay, but it's about being genuine about being there and making sure that we give ourselves the time and the resources to engage.